where the earth reaches toward heaven, where prayer flags flutter in winds so thin they carry whispers between worlds, there exists a land suspended between myth and reality. Tibet, the roof of the world. At an average elevation of 4,500 meters above sea level, Tibet stands as humanity's highest inhabited realm, a place where the line between earth and sky blurs into something sacred, something eternal. Here, in the embrace of the mightiest mountains our planet has ever raised, 2.5 million souls have learned not merely to survive, but to transform altitude into altitude of spirit. What does it mean to live where every breath is a conscious act? Where every step toward the divine is also a step closer to the stars? Join me on a journey to discover a civilization that has turned isolation into illumination, hardship into wisdom, and silence into the most profound conversation humanity has ever held with the infinite. 2. Context and history. To understand Tibet is to travel through time itself. This plateau, formed over 50 million years ago when the Indian subcontinent collided with Asia, creating the Himalayas, has been inhabited for over 21,000 years. But it was in the 7th century CE that Tibet emerged as a unified kingdom under the legendary emperor Songtsen Gampo. At its zenith, the Tibetan Empire stretched from the Tarim Basin to the Ganges, rivaling the Tang dynasty in power and influence. Songtsen Gampo married Princess Wencheng of China and Princess Brakuti of Nepal, forging alliances that would bring Buddhism to this mountain realm, forever transforming its soul. Buddhism arrived not as conquest, but as revelation. It merged with the indigenous Bon religion, creating a unique spiritual synthesis that would define Tibetan identity for millennia. Monasteries rose like prayers made stone, Sami, Drepung, Sera, becoming universities of philosophy, medicine, astronomy, and art. For centuries, Tibet existed in splendid isolation, ruled by the Dalai Lamas, believed to be successive incarnations of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. The current Dalai Lama, the 14th, was enthroned as a child in 1940, just as the world outside Tibet's borders was convulsing with war. In 1950, the People's Liberation Army entered Tibet. What followed were decades of profound transformation, political integration with China, massive infrastructure development, but also cultural upheaval. In 1959, following an uprising, the Dalai Lama fled to India, where he established a government in exile. Today, Tibet exists as the Tibet Autonomous Region within China, a land where ancient traditions navigate the currents of modernity, where the past and present write their story in complex characters across mountain and sky. 3. Culture and traditions. Tibetan culture breathes through ritual, through gesture, through the sacred made tangible. Watch these monks engaged in debate. Their vigorous hand claps punctuate logical arguments about the nature of reality, compassion, emptiness. Philosophy here is not abstract contemplation, but living practice, urgent and immediate. The cuisine of Tibet reflects its environment, nourishing, warming, designed for survival at altitude. Tsampa, roasted barley flour mixed with butter tea, sustains pilgrims and farmers alike. Momos, delicate dumplings filled with yak meat or vegetables, gather families around warmth and laughter. Butter tea, salty, creamy, fortifying, flows through social life like a liquid thread binding community together. During Losar, the Tibetan New Year, the plateau explodes with color. Cham dances unfold in monastery courtyards. Monks in fierce deity masks whirl and stomp, enacting the eternal battle between wisdom and ignorance, compassion and hatred. These are not mere performances but transmissions of teaching, where the divine descends into movement. Tibetan opera, or lamo, tells stories of kings and heroes, of moral lessons wrapped in melody and dance. Performers in turquoise headdresses and brocade robes transform monastery squares into stages where history becomes legend, where legend becomes teaching. Art in Tibet serves enlightenment. A master painter creates a thangka, a sacred scroll painting of Buddha or Bodhisattva, spending months in meditation and meticulous brushwork. Each color is ground from minerals and plants. Each proportion follows ancient geometric principles. The finished work is not signed, for ego dissolves in service to the sacred. Tibetan textiles carry prayers in their patterns, protection in their wool. The chuba, traditional robe worn by both men and women, adapts to fierce temperature swings, loosened to cool in intense high-altitude sun, drawn tight against bitter winds. 4. Emblematic places, the Potala Palace. 13 stories of white and ochre walls rise from Marpo Ri Hill in Lhasa, containing over 1,000 rooms. Once the winter residence of the Dalai Lamas, it now stands as Tibet's most iconic monument, a mountain built upon a mountain, architecture that defies both gravity and time. Inside, darkness gives way to gold. Golden stupas containing the preserved remains of past Dalai Lamas, walls covered in murals depicting Tibet's spiritual history, the scent of juniper incense and butter lamps creating an atmosphere where centuries collapse into a single eternal moment. Before dawn, the devout gather at Jokang Temple, Tibet's spiritual heart. They prostrate, full-body bows that measure faith and movement. Around the Barkor, the circular pilgrimage path, they walk clockwise, spinning prayer wheels, their lips moving in constant mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. The jewel is in the lotus. 3 hours from Lhasa, Yamdrok Lake spreads like a turquoise gemstone set in brown mountains. One of Tibet's 4 holy lakes, its waters shift through shades of blue and green depending on the angle of light and season. Tibetans believe the lake is the transformation of a goddess, and to harm it would bring drought to the land. The journey to Mount Kailash is pilgrimage itself. Days of driving across the Changtang Plateau, past herds of wild yaks and Tibetan antelope, through landscapes so vast they remake one's sense of scale, of self. Mount Kailash, sacred to 4 religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, and Bon. Its peak, eternally snow-covered, has never been climbed. To climb it would be sacrilege. Instead, pilgrims circle it, a 52-kilometer kora that the devoted complete in a single day, prostrating the entire way, transforming their bodies into prayers. Namtso, the heavenly lake, stretches at 4,618 meters elevation, its waters so clear they reflect the sky perfectly, creating moments where one cannot distinguish heaven from earth, above from below. At night, stars descend to touch their reflections, and the universe seems to breathe as one. 5. Daily life and people. In the northern plains, nomadic families live as their ancestors have for centuries. Their black yak hair tents dot the grasslands. The yak provides everything: milk for butter and cheese, dung for fuel, hair for tents, meat for sustenance, transportation across impossible terrain.
Life is simple here, she tells me through a translator, her hands never pausing as they spin wool. The grass, the animals, the sky, we have what we need.
In Lhasa's markets, modernity and tradition negotiate their daily dance. Vendors sell prayer flags alongside smartphones, traditional medicines beside modern packaged goods. The air fills with competing sounds, monks chanting, pop music from speakers, the eternal murmur of bargaining in Tibetan, Mandarin, sometimes English. Tibetan children now attend schools where instruction happens in both Tibetan and Mandarin. In their faces, you see the future being written. The challenge and opportunity of maintaining cultural identity while engaging with a rapidly changing world. The Qinghai-Tibet Railway, completed in 2006, is an engineering marvel, the world's highest railway, equipped with oxygen supplies for passengers, connecting Lhasa to the rest of China. It brings tourists, commerce, connection, and controversy, development's double-edged blessing. 6. Spiritual and philosophical dimension. What does Tibet teach us? Perhaps this: that elevation of geography can mirror elevation of consciousness. That in a place where survival is challenging, humans discovered not merely how to endure, but how to transcend. These prayer flags don't pray for us, they pray with the wind itself. Each flutter releases mantras into the air, spreading compassion to all beings. It's a recognition that we are not separate from nature, but expressions of it, that our prayers are the universe speaking to itself. In a civilization that could have become bitter from hardship, Tibetans instead developed philosophies of compassion, of interdependence, of finding liberation within the mind itself. The highest peak became a metaphor for consciousness reaching toward enlightenment. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions, teaches the Dalai Lama. In this simple wisdom lies Tibet's gift to humanity, that peace begins within, that compassion is stronger than force, that even in exile, even in loss, the spirit can remain free. Tibet, where prayer wheels turn, where mountains touch infinity, where every breath is conscious, where silence speaks volumes. This is not just a place on a map, it's a testament to human resilience, to spiritual aspiration, to the possibility that even in the harshest environments, beauty and wisdom can flourish. It's a reminder that what elevates us is not always comfortable, that the view from the summit requires the climb. Whether you come as pilgrim or traveler, seeker or wanderer, Tibet offers something beyond tourism. It offers transformation. Here, at the roof of the world, you discover that the greatest journey is not measured in kilometers, but in the distance between who you were and who you might become. Travel to Tibet. Not just to see it, but to let it see you. Not just to photograph its peaks, but to let its silence photograph your soul. The mountains are calling, and the heart must go.